I don't know what camera's mine. That's my camera. Hi.
Yes,
Hi. Welcome to the first video podcast of Lights, Camera, Remake. I'm Bridget LaMonica.
I'm Erica Strout.
And today we have with us...
Anthony Mack.
All right. Anthony, what do you do in the film industry?
I fly drones for a living.
He's drone guy. So if anyone's heard of the drone guy, that's Tony.
Got a sweet gig.
Yes, it is. Very, very nice.
It's very interesting, the kind of work he's been able to do. So,
Exactly.
so we wanted him to record with us at least once. And this time I co-opted him for this very magical pair of movies. Erica, there is a very popular movie that just was in the movie theater, and it's very popular, and it defied gravity.
I've never even heard of this.
There's a lot of green makeup, but we're not talking about Wicked. We are talking about two other lesser known Wizard of Oz films. They were The Wiz and Return to Oz. So, welcome to Lights, Camera, Remake, where we spent an uncomfortable amount of time researching everything about the Wizard of Oz.
Uncomfortable?
I got uncomfortable at one point.
Okay.
So, Erica, I realized that this is an older story than I thought, because the book was written in 1900. That's pretty old.
1900.
That's
1900,
true.
yeah.
By L Frank Baum.
Yeah. And he wrote about 14 books in this universe.
He really milked it. Yeah. I think he just
14 books.
Well, I think some of it was probably popular demand, and some of it was just like, this is what's making me money.
So around like Dorothy, or were they different stories?
No, there was a bunch of different ones. So he did like little offshoots with different characters from Oz, and then he did an unsuccessful musical at one point that had nothing to do with Dorothy.
That one bankrupted him.
It literally bankrupted him. What was it called? The Wobble something. It had a weird name to it. But yeah, so 1939 is the Wizard of Oz that everybody thinks about, but the book was actually 1900. So it's an old story.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the most popular movie adaptations, because there's countless adaptations. There's comics and graphic novels, and there's animated for kids, straight to DVD stuff. There's so many different iterations and TV shows. The most popular movies are The Wizard of Oz, 1939, The Wiz, 1978, Return to Oz, 1985, Oz the Great and Powerful, 2013, and most recently Wicked in 2024. So, Erica.
You made a whole list.
I made a whole list. And there's so many. When you look at like the Wikipedia article of Wizard of Oz adaptations, it just keeps going.
It just seems
just
impossible
keeps
to catalog.
There's
even
literally
so much
adaptations
over
with
the
like
years.
Scooby-Doo and stuff and Frosty the Snowman. I'm not even kidding. Everybody's done a Wizard of Oz. So there's that.
I wonder what makes this story so popular.
I don't know, because it's funny. It's almost a ripoff of Alice in Wonderland. The author was like really, I think he was friends with Lewis Carroll, and he was like really into that, Alice in Wonderland. He's like, I'm gonna make mine.
I want to. I don't know if he was friends with.
I don't know if
Lewis.
he was
He
either.
might have been, but I know he was a big fan of Lewis Carroll's work at the very least.
I didn't look that deep
but
into it.
But it sounded like he was kind of a natural storyteller himself anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that, it wasn't. I don't want to. Accuse him of being a complete ripoff, but
I'm not either.
I'm sure he was heavily
I enjoy
influenced,
these stories. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. It's not a
Tarantino
ripoff.
said, you steal from the best.
It's homage. There's a difference. So Tony's gonna read the IMDb description of The Wiz. Take it away.
So the one-liner basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
It's
That works.
An adaptation of The Wizard of Oz that tries to capture the essence of the African American experience.
I hope they did that. I don't know if we've accomplished this. I hope they did.
I think that's the first IMDb description that I've heard that I didn't take issue with.
Really? I feel like it doesn't say enough.
No, it doesn't say enough, but it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like what they did say is at least accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Because
fair.
like with our RoboCop one, that was kind of misleading.
Yeah, because at this point, you would know what the Wizard of Oz is.
Right.
So it was just like, okay, this is the African American version.
I just thought it would be
Wizard of
important to
Oz.
say it's set in Harlem. She's a 24-year-old kindergarten teacher. Her mother is like, or no, not her mother. Her aunt M is saying, "Well, why don't you teach these high school kids?" I don't know why it was comparable jobs. But she says, "You've never been south of 125th Street," and I'm like, that's so sad. You've never been outside of that part of the city.
You know what confuses me about that though is that she responds with, "Well, why would I go south of 125th Street?" She doesn't sound like she's interested in exploring.
This is not your typical heroine. She does not want to go on an adventure at all. For like half the movie, she's unhappy.
Which to me kind of points to like why that seems counterintuitive for a Dorothy character. Like the whole point of Dorothy was that she was leaving home on purpose. And then learns the reason why home is important.
Well, I definitely think in the original movie with Judy Garland, she definitely does say, "I want to go home." But I think it's more about the adventure of meeting friends and stuff for most of it. And then at the end, it's like, "Oh, yeah, you can go home. Just click your heels." And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to miss you guys. You're so great." I feel like this Dorothy's more like, "Peace. Bye, guys. This was weird. I'm going to go now."
Like, all I had to do this whole time was just click my heels. Like I went home.
I do want to note that in The Wiz, she has silver shoes.
Yeah.
Do you know why she has silver shoes?
I have a good idea.
Okay, what do you think?
I think she has silver shoe. Well, they may have had a second reason, but in the original book, Dorothy had silver slippers and not ruby slippers.
There's no ruby slippers in the book.
They changed them for the vaudeville Judy Garland version because they thought that the color would pop.
It's for Technicolor.
Which is true. I think it worked.
It popped.
Yeah.
It definitely
So
popped for
literally MGM owns the rights to the idea of the ruby slippers.
Oh, so it's like
you have to pay for it.
So you legally can't.
You legally can't use it.
that
So when
without
we get to the
paying
next movie, they had to pay to use the ruby slippers. They had to pay MGM for the right to use those.
Yeah, wow.
And they barely used them.
And Disney wasn't even like doing that great at that point.
No, I think they went through a period of time when they were not doing well business-wise.
Yeah,
so
I think
they definitely were
this was
selling
during
off assets at the time that later they regretted. But anyway, so we have our reluctant heroine, right?
Yes,
and
we do.
how does she get to Oz? It's not a tornado. It's more like a snowstorm.
Yeah, it's like a snow tornado.
Yeah, Snownado. Coming this fall to Sci-Fi Original Channel. It's Snownado.
But we also see Glinda the Good Witch, like with in the palm of her hand, this little snow tornado, and you see Dorothy, and she actually kind of like blows the tornado out. So she's actually the one bringing
caused it. Yeah,
Dorothy
it wasn't like that in the original, right? It just was a freak
it just
tornado
happened. It was a
that
freak
happened.
tornado. It lands her in Oz.
Or they didn't say that. That's
her house lands on a lady, and it's like, oops. And basically, again, that happens. I guess she lands on the evil witch of this world.
She didn't land. She busts through the Z or whatever.
Oh, the OZ, basically.
The OZ, and then the part of the Z landed on the witch, which was interesting.
Wild. This whole ride is so wild. The Munchkins were interesting.
Yeah, I do appreciate the originality of this interpretation, though. I have to.
I think there's definitely points where they did some things very brave and very original. And it's also a very quintessential New York story because of all the sites are incorporated
and all that.
You see the Chrysler Building, you see the New York Public Library, and then you have just elements of like they're running from the bad guys in a parking garage.
Yeah,
like up escalators. They're in the subway at one point. The subway was creepy.
Yeah, that
was interesting.
The subway was creepy, but maybe the subway's kind of creepy.
Yeah, the subway.
Also, let's remember this is like mid 70s, mid late 70s,
right?
Like the blackout of, what was it, 1975 that happened in New York. New York City was in turmoil at this point in time. Like so it kind of makes sense that you would see a lot of that reflected in the story.
Yeah, it's commentary for sure. So she gets there during a snowstorm. She accidentally smushes the Wicked Witch Evamine.
Wait, are you covering this or am I covering it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to keep it moving, babe.
Well, we got edited. Okay. Do you want to take the helm on this one? Have you?
So here, I'll just read it and then we can go over it.
Okay.
So you want me to start from?
I'm assuming 75% of the people who listen to this episode will not have seen this movie already.
Yeah.
So just going over the basic synopsis so they know what's happening.
Okay. So Dorothy is celebrated by the Munchkins, a people the witch enslaved by turning them into graffiti art.
Can we? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I do have a thought on that. The first time I was watching this, I was getting serious flashbacks to the movie Us.
Oh, really?
When they were coming off the wall and like holding hands and walking toward her. I don't know if anyone else got that, but
it was unsettling.
It was unsettling in the same way that like the Hands Across America thing from that movie I don't know. Okay,
I don't know
guess
if that's the
the cheese
inspiration.
stands alone. I guess, but it came up for me.
It was unsettling. I'm going to give it that because they definitely peel themselves off the walls, and then it's very menacing.
They're coming out of the shadows toward her and everything. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to just throw that out there. Comment on that.
We can never get through a synopsis without commenting.
I'm sure
that's an interesting parallel. I've never thought about that. Like,
it may have been unintentional. Yeah. I don't know if Jordan Peele's seen The Wiz. I mean, I would think he would have.
One would
but...
probably, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
I already threw him off.
Okay.
So the Munchkins celebrate her.
Yep, they celebrate her. They then go on a journey to find the Wiz, meeting the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion along the way. The Wiz tasks them with fighting the last evil witch, Eveline, who has imprisoned people in a perpetual sweatshop.
Yeah, sweatshop.
They confront the wizard, who turns out to be a whiny politician, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
Richard Pryor is a politician, or a failed politician, because he couldn't even get the job of dog catcher, which I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Like I said, Dorothy reveals to her friends that they had brains, heart, and courage all along, and the good witch, Glinda, tells Dorothy to click her heels 3 times to return home a changed woman.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
She does eventually want to change for the better and explore more, but it takes her a while to get to that point. She really does complain about going home the whole time.
I want to get home.
I just want to get home. This is weird.
She has such a saccharine voice.
She does. I mean, that was Diana Ross, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's amazing, but I feel like either she wasn't into the songs or she just wasn't putting her all into it, because I feel like some other people were singing with, I don't know, more strength in their voices, and she just didn't feel like she committed.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't feel it 100% from her in this movie.
That's funny because she kind of fought to get that role.
She wasn't the first choice.
I might be completely off base.
The lady from the musical, Stephanie something. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your last name.
That's good. I didn't know.
She was the choice originally, and Diana Ross kind of like circumvented
and they actually,
her.
The original director actually dropped out because Diana got the role.
Oh,
so it was going to be another. Let me see if I can find
he didn't want her in.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, she was.
I don't know if he didn't want her, but let me.
Yeah, this film was directed by Sidney Lumet, or is it Lumet?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sidney Lumet, who I have one of his directing books. It was a required reading for one of my classes.
Oh,
cool.
cool.
So here it is. Yeah, original director John Bedham stepped down when he objected to 33-year-old Diana Ross being cast as teenage Dorothy. The character was changed to a 24-year-old kindergarten teacher, but then Sidney Lumet had already replaced Bedham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he objected to the age of her playing this character.
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood's
makes
always hired like 20-year-olds to play teenagers. So
yeah, but she was 33.
She was 33. Okay.
And Dorothy originally, I think, how old was Dorothy originally in the book?
In
Does
the
anyone
books,
know?
she's like 12.
Yeah.
In the movies, she's like 16, 17, 18.
Well,
no,
Judy
like
Garland
16.
was 16 when they filmed.
Right.
The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
But was she playing a 16-year-old or?
I think they just don't say.
They just don't say.
I think they just kind of let it ride.
No.
But she was supposed to be a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why in Return to Oz, she's just this little girl, and some people might have been like, "That doesn't look right." It's like, no, that's more accurate.
Little bitty Veruja Balk.
Little bitty. I wanted to talk really briefly about the makeup effects, because I felt like they were really jarring.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about like the makeup and stuff that they did on the various characters, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, etc.?
I think they kind of worked. The lion actually worked really well, I think.
Yeah, because he had like the jowls with the lion face.
He looked like a lion. It's interesting that they gave him the high heels.
Yeah. For the feet?
For the feet. I think they said that it was so he could like more easily move around on set or whatever. I guess he was
that could be
a hard time.
So it was a logistical
I think so,
choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
I just didn't like they made him look all matted and kind of funky, like the suit itself. I think he was probably one of the better ones.
Fur,
I thought MJ's Scarecrow was very unsettling looking, but then I'm putting a lot of behind that. I'm like, oh, I don't really like this guy. I mean, he still sings really well. I just have issues with the person itself.
Yeah,
so.
and little known fact, this was actually MJ's film debut.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and then they gave him
a
a whole intro song.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was not the king of pop at this point either.
No.
That's important. He had left the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
And he'd released a couple of solo albums at this point.
Okay.
Exactly.
And he wanted...
and so that is the thing, because Quincy Jones actually wasn't for sure of casting Mike. But after they did and he saw what he could do,
oh my goodness,
he actually went after the film, was like, oh, let's work on a couple albums together. And then that's
how Off the Wall happened.
I will say,
Thriller and all them, and then that's when he became King of Pop.
I will say he's one of the best singers in this whole movie, like hands down.
He's an excellent singer.
He is
and he's an excellent performer. And apparently he didn't know only his lines, but he knew everyone else's lines while they were filming too.
Should do as a performer.
Your attention to detail, and that was why I guess Tony was saying that Quincy was impressed with him.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the performance on that.
I didn't like the Reese's wrapper on his nose.
I looked at it. When I first looked at it, I was just like, oh, this is dirt or something they did.
No,
but as I kept looking at it more, I'm like,
it's a Reese's wrapper. I thought the same thing. I'm glad I'm not the only one who said that. Okay, good. I'm glad. I can move on now.
But he's stuffed with straw.
Trash.
But he's got trash.
It's like newspaper and straw and all that stuff. And he would pull out quotes and read them.
That was almost always perfect for the situation.
Yeah.
A man cannot be by himself. Okay, buddy. Today's soup of the day.
I like his last one was Public office is the last refuge of the incompetent.
I thought that was very...
That was like his last one.
That was good.
Yeah. I felt like there were definitely things that could have been improved upon, makeup and costume-wise. But I do think, overall, I want to give him props for being really imaginative and original with it.
Yeah. Okay, the one I really didn't like,
I will say the Tin Man was I liked him the most, actually.
I did too. Yeah. And I also like that he's part of his tin is cookie tins.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I didn't
Part of his legs are cookie tins.
Oh.
Yeah. Either that or sewing kits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think the most egregious face makeup was the monkeys. I did not like their faces. They were really gross.
The Flying Monkey Motorcycle Club.
They were a motorcycle
Yeah.
gang. And the one lady's complaining about how bad they smell. And I thought that was going to be like a consistent theme. But Dorothy rides with them and doesn't notice. I guess she's a better person than all of us.
She was also sitting on the front, so she was upwind.
Yeah,
True. It's true. But did you see how their mouths moved? It was like animatronic and it just kind of gyrates.
It is funny how they were
Ew.
built in with the motorcycles.
Yeah, they were part of the motorcycle.
Yeah, they were part of it. That always just set weird.
Sponsored by Suzuki, by the way.
I kept trying to figure out what was going on with their bodies.
Yeah.
There was so much brand integration in this movie. I didn't realize until afterward. So Suzuki provided the motorcycles for the motorcycle gang monkeys, and then all of the fashions in that in the Wiz's palace when people are dancing and the color's green, the color's red, whatever. That was all high fashion. I have it written down here.
What do you mean it was all high? All those outfits?
They developed all those outfits. It was
Were they wearing silver outfits and then when they changed the light color, it would just reflect the correct color?
Yeah, I think so. That would be the only way that they could do that quickly, because that was at least 200-300 people. To be able to
and change everyone's outfit for
I don't know if
3
y'all
different
realize
colors.
this. One, I didn't realize that this The Wiz was actually based off a play, The Wiz.
Yes, yeah.
So again, another adaptation. But then again, if you look at it, it's actually shot like a stage play more than a movie. If you look at the camera. You look at the camera work, you realize that it really doesn't move when it's looking at a scene. They'll go into close-ups and wides and all that, but once it's there, it just lets the scene play. There's no moving and there's no motivated camera movement.
I had a problem with how many wides the film was filmed in, because not only, especially with the dance sequences, show me some individual pieces of it so I can really see the dance moves, because there was some great choreography. Quincy Jones was the choreographer. There was great choreography, but I want to see it. And you don't always land on the wide for all of it. And sometimes they lingered on wides that were just so useless. It was like a shot of the city. And I'm like, if I have enough time to wonder, why am I looking at this? The shot is too long. Yeah. But with the dance sequences, especially, like when we get to Eveline's sweatshop, I didn't know that those people were in costumes, like face costumes, until the very end of it when they're being freed from it. Wouldn't it have been so emotionally satisfying if I saw how twisted and awful they looked before they were able to free themselves of it? That's what I wish they would have shown more.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. They had these really elaborate leather masks with zippers.
Yeah, I couldn't tell either until the end when they liberated themselves after she melted.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it was shot more like a stage play than a movie.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it came from a musical and early filmmaking, and they used to do that more, where they would kind of just show you the scene and let things happen,
which works.
Let the actors react to each other and everything.
We talked about that with Little Shop of Horrors. It was very much film like a stage play, but with film enhancement, where you can see something come into the foreground and you can see great close-ups, but then a lot of it was staged like the musical. And I wanted to mention, so the Emerald City fashions, this is how high class they were. It was 14 different clothing brands, including Bill Blass, Oscar de la Renta, and Ralph Lauren. Like, this is expensive. That's some serious product placement.
But how would you know if you didn't look it up?
I looked
that those brands were.
When you get to the end credits and I just let them play, it was a whole block of text that just shows their logos, and it's like Emerald City Fashions provided by. And there was a bunch of other names that I didn't recognize because I'm not exactly high fashion. I mean, come on. But it was just interesting. And then this film, I mean, I just threw it in there just because everyone thinks everything is in Hollywood. This was filmed in Astoria Studios in New York City and on location in New York City. And then if you have anything else, I think I've reached the end of my notes. Oh, you do? That's right.
This was the one I was supposed to make notes for.
That's true.
They adhered more to the 1939 version, with Oz being an imagined place as opposed to a real one.
Oh, is that how you interpreted it? Because I didn't interpret it that way.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh.
I just thought it was an alternate New York City. But I could be wrong. It could be. I think these stories can be both. I think they can be both ways. Dorothy could have gone to Oz, or she could have imagined it. She bumped her head, and that's why her Aunt Em thinks she's nuts. You imagined it. Where are your ruby slippers then? Well, they fell off my feet, naturally.
Huh. Yeah. I guess it just seemed that way to me. But
maybe more dreamlike.
Because it shows her just at the end, which I felt like was a little unsatisfying, when she gets back to Harlem to go home. She's back in the snow with the dog. She's in her regular shoes again, and you just see her going into the house.
Yeah,
and there's music and everything, but there's no.
A little unsatisfying.
Yeah, kind of like when you see Judy Garland, she's like, "There's no place like home," and she wakes up and she interacts with her aunt again.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you see the payoff of having to go through the journey, and then how different she is now that she's back home and she appreciates everything. Just kind of, I'm back in the snow, I go inside, and then boom, that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
It's like,
So maybe they just wanted to spend more time with the musical numbers and everything, or maybe they felt, I mean, it's a long movie.
Yeah.
It's a long movie.
It's over 2 hours.
I would say the pacing was the weakest part of this movie overall, just because I kept checking the time, like, is it still going? Because for some reason, the dance sequences and the songs, which should have been great, should have been the set piece, they always felt twice as long as they should have been. Especially in the Emerald City with the color changing thing. It took too long.
It's funny because it was actually supposed to be longer than what it was.
Oh, honey, I would have gave up.
They couldn't get like permission to do reshoots and all that because they had like lighting and electrical issues when they first shot it. So that was actually supposed to be longer than what it was.
That's interesting.
Do you have any idea? I didn't come across anything that explained why they did the color changes.
I don't know. That may be. Well, I don't know if that's in the inherent story, but just Oz always changing his mind, because that's the reason why they did the color. He was like, "Oh, I like gold, now I like green, now I like red," and all that, and they just followed him. So I don't know if that had a meaning, like in the story with Oz and why he wanted to change colors, but
I think
Okay.
when
I haven't read the book, so
when it started
Yeah.
with green, I just assumed this is a commentary on money. You're nothing if you're not green, if you don't have green, whatever. But once they changed the colors, I thought it was more of shallow, like just follow the trend. Follow the trend of what's cool, what's popular, because they seem very full of themselves.
exactly.
That's the only interpretation I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, New York
Dealer's choice.
City.
Yeah, there
I
you
could
go.
see that being,
Yeah. I mean, a little
kind of
Saks
maybe
Fifth
a little
Avenue.
bit of a little bit of commentary on New York City and the the glitz and glamour and the like keeping up with the Joneses kind of
Just following the
probably
trends.
feeling that
Yeah.
people have there.
True.
I have stuff on a couple of the actors.
Yeah, it was a pretty star-studded cast.
Oh, we can talk about the dogs.
Oh, you want to talk about the dogs?
Yeah. Why did they use a schnauzer?
Because they could. I don't know. There's probably a reason story-wise, or they're just like, hey, this dog is trained. You know, sometimes it's like that.
It may be that that
It
they
could
just
be-
that was the dog they found.
A person called them up and like, we need a dog trainer with a dog, and they're like, cool. Well, we have this schnauzer that's available. What's a schnauzer? That'll work.
It's the gray one,
The
okay?
gray one. That sounds like Toto.
Well,
Yeah.
well, wasn't Toto always like a kind of a grayish kind of
Always
like...
a smallish dog. What's the
Yeah.
original Toto? Do you remember?
The original Toto was a Cairn Terrier.
See, look, she knows all this
And then
stuff.
in Return to Oz, which we will get to in a little while, it's a Border Terrier.
Okay. So it's
Brown.
usually some
Brown.
sort of terrier.
Cairn is like grayish black.
Okay.
Border like brown color. And then Schnauzer's like gray and white.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, now we
So-
know.
I don't know. I mean,
I
maybe
know
I'm being
about-
too picky. But it's obviously a different kind of dog.
I had questions.
I don't know
too.
what it is in the book, though. Does anyone know which one it is in the book?
I don't remember. I think it's just in the book. It's probably very simple. It's probably like he's a little dog. You know,
Yeah, it's just like a
because
small
because
terrier.
those books of
Yeah.
that time were not very particular,
Yeah.
especially for children. They're just like she was a little girl. You know, like it was a little dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe
Not-
so.
Not too much
Yeah.
on descriptions.
All right. Well, different dogs.
Different dogs.
I don't know. Does anyone else remember Aunt Em from Billy Madison?
But I don't know the reference.
Okay.
Sorry.
Aunt Em and the Wiz and played the maid in Billy Madison.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's
see
how
this.
that's how I knew her face originally.
Oh yeah.
But I always remembered her face, and she's an excellent actor and singer.
Also, a thought for all the extras in Aunt Em's beginning party who all got a screen credit, but not all the people in Oz. Like they
Really?
get there's like 14 people in Aunt Em's party. They're all credited. And they're all
Okay.
just
And
there.
so, what was the one? I didn't understand the one couple that got there like
Right, with the
late, and
baby?
everyone was like celebrating and
yeah,
clapping and all.
they brought
Well,
a baby. They had a baby, I think.
I thought
Well,
that was
was
why
it-
too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that okay, so I thought that was them. Okay, I thought it was another couple after them. When
Yeah,
everyone
and then
was
for
celebrating.
a
I'm like,
second,
why are
I'm
we
like,
all happy?
I'm like,
and
is that
this-
Diana Ross?
Yeah.
I didn't remember what she looked like.
Well, that was another thing I was a little going back to the makeup. One thing I was confused about
Yeah.
also is why they didn't do her up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never seen her with that small amount of makeup on her face.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to just make her look every girl. you
Yeah,
know?
it's
Maybe
like
they-
homely and all that kind of. I guess.
And maybe
Yeah.
young too. I
didn't
feel like
glitz
makeup
her
can
up.
often make people look a little older. But I
Who
mean,
knows?
you makeup artists can do whatever they want
Yeah,
to
they're
make
banking
anyone look
on-
any way.
Yeah.
Banking on you distracted by the fact that it's Diana Ross.
But maybe. The thing I feel like is important about this one is just that it's commentary on what seems like the Black experience and also a celebration of Black culture within like all the different styles of music that they incorporate.
Yeah.
And
I can
just,
appreciate
like, the
that.
vibrancy
Yeah.
of it.
I felt like the songs weren't involved enough. Is that just me? Like, I felt like they were very repetitive. And, like, when you get to a song like Ease On Down the Road, that was very catchy. But that's the only one of the only ones that I felt was actually catchy.
That was the
And-
only one I remembered after the fact.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
felt like a lot of the other songs didn't have a lot more to them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Scarecrow song, that had more content to it, but some of the other songs were just like, do this, now do this, but also still do this. And it's like really repetitive.
I don't know if they were still trying to. I guess because again, you're still following a base.
Yeah.
A story base of okay, we got to tell this part of the story. Now we got to tell this part of the story. So I don't know if they were just trying to
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's
to
just,
fit that mold as best they could with putting their own little spin on it.
Yeah.
that certainly could be.
But, yeah.
Well, I wrote down a little bit about Nipsey Russell, who played the Tin Man.
Ooh, yeah.
He's from Atlanta.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. He also he was in World War II in the Army. And
oh my God.
he was promoted to the rank of captain, which was kind of rare at that point because a lot of the battalions were segregated still.
Oh, absolutely. In World War II?
Yeah. And he did stand-up, like, live routines. He would make up these, like, 4-line poems that he would, like, recite to people. Let's see. He had like a singing and dancing background in a group called Ragamuffins of Rhythm, which I did not look up any further. But
okay.
It was.
I love the name.
Made me curious. Yeah. And it says he started in show business on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 50s.
Wow.
Nice.
What a start.
Yeah. And then he was on. Do you guys remember the show 227?
No. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It was like it was set in New York City, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like the Jeffersons
sitcom.
or
okay.
this other like
in that vein.
Yeah, in that
it was
vein.
a wholesome
It was just
show.
like it's like the African American like middle class, lower up to middle class.
227's probably the area code.
I think it was or maybe the address of the building or something.
Okay. Maybe, yeah.
I don't remember.
If it was the address or the area code. But
could have been the area code. But yeah, so he was on an episode of that show at one point.
Okay.
And it turns out the guy who played the lion, Ted Ross, also was on 227 at one point.
So it's a reunion for them.
Yeah, he was also on the Jeffersons and the show of the guy who, I don't know if I'm supposed to say his name anymore.
You can say it.
Okay. He was on the Cosby Show.
Yeah, we know. We know. Unfortunately, when you're talking about anything to do with Hollywood and television, you're going to deal with a lot of unsavory characters. But they exist, and we shouldn't pretend that they don't exist. But we don't have to give them any more money. So,
yeah. Well, Ted Ross also was in Arthur, The Fisher King, and Police Academy.
yes, give me some Police Academy. Okay, now you're talking my language.
Nice.
He's had a good career, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and then everything else that I have written down, I've already said. So.
Okay.
Well, Tony, do you have other thoughts that you would like to share about the events?
I mean, not really. Like I said, I hadn't seen the film since I was like a kid.
Oh, okay.
So it was like way back in the day. So it was nice actually coming back with fresh eyes and actually from a filmmaker's mindset.
Yeah.
Of how I know how they did this, or I wonder why they did that.
So
with all these other
I'm gonna ask you, because I focus on this stuff.
What?
Did you see the camera behind the Tin Man in his first song?
No, I did not.
I saved the clip, but of course I can't get it on the internet right now. But
well, I can look it up right now.
You can.
Where is
it's
it?
in his intro song. So near the end of his song, he's singing in front of. Yes. Okay. And you're not allowed to take a screenshot of it. I found out.
Really?
I couldn't take a screenshot of it. I took a picture with my phone. Yeah, you can't. It'll blank out the screen.
What?
Oh,
yeah. I know Netflix did that.
I don't know.
But I don't know if I can YouTube.
Here, I'll show you
sneaky.
I'll show you a
YouTube.
reference photo, and I can at least share this on the podcast. Okay, so when he's doing this song, he's surrounded by canvas and mirrors. There are mirrors behind him.
Yeah. And there's a camera. Oh.
So that, if you zoom in right over that right shoulder.
Not the most obvious.
It's not egregious,
camera,
but it's something that we would notice. So whenever there's
like in that hole.
In the hole, and you can see it's A-cam because it has red tape on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bridget knows which one it is too.
Oh my god.
But I always focus on mirrors in movies because I know how hard it is to hide the crew.
It is so hard to shoot with mirrors involved.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening and or watching this time. You can see part 2 of this special video episode next week when we cover Return to Oz. In the meantime, follow us on Spotify. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. And our Instagram is Lights Camera Remake Podcast. We'll see you there.